Yeah, it'll be the same meeting room. I don't know, should we just go straight through or should we take a 10-minute break?
I have a question. Everything that we have for the regular class is it's all under one folder, right? The correct and everything. Okay.
Yeah, I put it all under one. So I gotta switch. So when you go into, when you go on Blackboard, you'll have the co-rec and the regular course. This is my class. But if you go in just the regular course, I try and put everything there so you're not going to 3 different places. So you only have to go in this one. Your grade will be in here for both courses. It will all be in here. When you first go in, it has your welcome letter. The only thing that's in the co-rec that's not in here is the co-rec syllabus. But your office hours and the class are all the same link. If you text me and say you want to meet, we'll meet in the same spot so that we can always, nice, simple, one place. Your syllabus is also here and the Mac. The Mac, if you click on it, it's an assistance center where you can get help with some of the questions. I mean, you can always come to me, text me, email me, call me. But if you want to meet with a tutor, you can. They have online hours. You just click on here, you schedule an appointment. What is nice for doing now, since you're scheduling, you could request a certain tutor. So if there's one you've worked with that you really like, then you can work with that person. Or if you weren't happy with the way they explain things, you can get a different one the next time. So you can click on there. Another thing they have during the hours, which is available 9 to 5 Monday and 9 to 3 Thursday and Friday, during those hours, you can post a question. So if you only had one thing you weren't sure of, then you could click on here, ask that question, and you'll get a response back shortly. But that way, then you can get an answer right away. But the same thing works for me. If you have a question or you're working on something and think you might be going the wrong way, take a picture. Am I doing this right? Am I on the right way? Or could you give me a hint? Where do I start? And so you can do the same thing with me. You can text me, email me, or call me. The syllabus, can everyone see it okay? For some reason, the syllabus was going weird in my last class. Okay, so the book is called Common Sense Mathematics. It looks like this. You don't have to buy the book. I will give you all the information you need from the book. So if you want to save that money, you can use it for another class's book, because I know they can get expensive. So if you do want to save money, I mean, it's not a very expensive book because it's so small, but that's up to you. You don't have to buy the book. If you're thinking of doing this class completely online, which you can, as long as you let me know ahead of time, then you might want the book just for extra help. But you can't still text me, call me, or email me. But I do have a couple people doing it online. Talk about what we cover. Calculator. You do need a scientific calculator. It does not need to be a TI-83 or 84. The basic calculator. Normally they require the basic one, but you cannot use a graphing or programmable calculator. But since everything's online, I can't really tell which calculator you're using, so I will allow you guys to use whichever one you want. As long as you're learning how to use the technology, doesn't it? Now, don't go out and buy TI 83 or 84. I have a link to 90-day free trial. So if you do want to use that one, you can. And we really don't need it right now. A basic calculator is fine, but when we get into house payments, it's nicer to have the TI 83 or 84. And I have a free link, so I'll give you it. Talks about honors credit. This class, you cannot take an honors credit on it. I think it's because they have an honors class for it. It has all the important dates when we don't have class. There are days throughout the whole semester, if you didn't know already, because we don't have a spring break this semester. We put a day off here and there, and so that's all on here. Math Assistance Center talks about things they can help you with. I think they also have answer keys and things like that. Here's the most important part. Here's my information. I'm not in my office on campus this semester because I have everything online. But my email address and my cell phone number, text me, call me, or email me whenever you have questions. These are my office hours. But if you're doing work at 8 o'clock at night and you have a question, then I expect to get an answer. I expect you to email me, text me, or call me and let me know. Okay, I thought I brought up the wrong class, but we are 10 to 10:50. This class is weighted. So attendance, group activities, discussion board, and projects, that's 40% of your grade. There's only one project. But the discussion boards, group activities, and attendance is worth the most. It's 40% of your grade. Homework assignments are 10%. And most of those I'll do in class. Like this coming Wednesday, the next class, we will probably go through most of the homework assignments that's due on Sunday. It's not easy. The first two chapters are the hardest. There's 2 exams and a cumulative final. Group projects or labs, which are every Friday. It's a classroom activity, and this class is supposed to be about making sure things make sense when you read them, but it's also about being able to work together. And so it's kind of hard online, but on Fridays, that's why Friday will be group activities unless there's a test. Or 2 tests. Now this part I didn't check out, they did, but it kind of explains what you need to be doing in a group activity and how to grade it. And this talks about what we'll cover every week. We cover about a chapter a week. Attendance. Attendance is not taken by coming to this class. Although it's hard to pass the class if you don't come to the class, that's not your attendance. Your attendance is turning things on time. So there's, in the regular course, there's 3 homework assignments and a discussion board. Those need to be turned in on time, and that's your attendance point. They're all due Sunday. So any homework and assignments, as long as they're done on time, that's how you get your attendance point. There's a discussion board weekly, and it's due on Sunday. The responses to the discussion board are due the following week, because I had last semester so many people waiting till Sunday to post their discussion then students who wanted to get things done early couldn't respond until Sunday night. And so this way then you don't have to respond till the following week. Then mostly everyone will be up there, and you can do your responses easily. Graded group activities, as I said, were on Friday unless there's an exam. It says you must do 10. I'm not sure how many there will be, but I will drop the two lowest, at least the two lowest. So if there is only 10 of them, then I would only grade 8. Or take the highest 8. That way then if you do miss things and don't get it, it won't hurt your grade. But if you're not here on a Friday and you have a group activity, then you can just do it individually. So the two exams are February 12th and March 25th. And then our final would be at 8 a.m. on Friday, finals week. I forget which week is finals right now. But it would be the Friday of finals week at 8 in the morning. Any questions on that?
Would you be able to take the final like earlier in the week than Friday?
Yeah, we could work something out. And my
Okay.
class is taking it at 8 a.m. on Wednesday, if that would work. But if not, I can set up any time to do it. It has to be done during finals week, but it doesn't have to be done during that time. We can set up any
I get a question regarding the book. Should we get it?
time. It's up to you. You do not need to purchase the book if you don't want to. What you could do is wait and see, and if you feel you need more information with the book, then purchase the book. But I will give you everything you need. Anytime I'm using something from the book, I will print it out. You'll see when the homework assignment, I type them out.
The next question I'd like to ask you, what do you recommend to pass this course?
Coming to class and getting all your work done. If you have questions, make sure you let me know.
All right, thank you.
I have a question.
Okay.
I know I kind of came in a little bit late. Will we ever meet in person?
No.
Okay, just double checking.
Yep. No, this is all online.
Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So with the Friday classes next week on Friday, I know I'm gonna be on my way to New York because I'm going on a skiing trip.
Nice.
So should I try to like meet up with my group on my way there, or would I be okay not meeting? I don't know how to go about it.
I'm not sure either. Like, okay, so if you're not in the class, you won't have a group. I'd like to try and get people together who can't come on Friday, a certain Friday, to work together, but you can just do it individually. So on Friday, okay, to know what you need to do every week, first, we were under important information. That's where your syllabus is. And about the Math Center. Then when you go under the next one, I didn't put this in here. It should be in all of your classes, but there's a lot of information that might help you here. Anytime you have questions on certain things, you should look through it. But then every week there'll be one of these. Week 1, the other ones are hidden right now. Week 1, week 2, week 3. When you click on it, it shows everything you need. In red are the notes. Normally I don't get to this part, but since we're a co-rec, I will get to the metric system, so I made a recording for my other class. But the notes from today's class are here, and we'll just be filling them in as we go along. I had sent you an email, so if you did look at it, you know what the notes look like already. Here's the group assignment. Right now it's hidden. So on Friday morning, this will come up, and then the people who are in class, they'll separate you into groups, and you can work on it, and you turn it in as a group. If you're not here, you can go in and work on it. It's due on Sunday, and you can do it individually.
Will you lose points if you do it individually?
I was going to take off points, but now I have 2 people working completely online, so I'm not going to take off. I might, if I find out there's like 4 people who are completely working online, have them do the group activity together. But I was going to take off 2 points, but I'm not now. So if you're not going to be here on a Friday, you can do it individually. At a later date, I might put people together in groups who aren't coming. But for this week and next week, we won't do groups if you're absent. The discussion boards here, when you click on the discussion board, someone's already done one, which is good. But you just click create thread and you'll make your thread. When you click on it, it'll tell you what you need to do. It also told us on the main screen. You need a picture of yourself, maybe something you did during winter break, pets, family. If it's a group picture, make sure I know which one is you. Your major and some interesting things about yourself, just so I can get to know you. We're not in a classroom. It's a little different. And as you can see, not everyone is showing themselves. Next week, you'll respond. So this week's just doing the main discussion. Then next week, you'll have another discussion board, and you'll respond to this one. Normally, there'll be one short homework assignment and then one harder one. This time, there's 2 because of the syllabus. There's a homework assignment on your syllabus. And you don't need to study your syllabus. You can have your syllabus up with it or printed so that you can answer these questions. I just want to make sure you know where you can find everything. And so there's a homework assignment on the syllabus.
I have a question.
Uh-huh.
For the discussion board, is it absolutely needed me to put a picture on there, or can we just answer the questions?
I want a picture.
Okay.
That way I have a picture of you and I can kind of learn people. Last semester I only had 3 people who would show themselves on the board. And if I didn't have that discussion board, then I wouldn't have known what anybody else looked like. So, yeah, you do have to put a picture. I know. I didn't like any of mine either, but I have one. So that's your syllabus quiz. And you do have your syllabus up with you when you're doing it. Then there's a homework for large numbers. This, again, these numbers you need to know for your test. And so that's why I have this. I'm not saying you can't look it up. Like if you're not sure 1 inch is 2.5 centimeters, you can Google it. A lot of these you know. You know there's 12 months in a year. So most of these you will know, but some of them you might not. Gallon to liters is not one I always remember. There's another one. Oh.
Would these be in the book too?
They might be in the book. I would just use the internet. So if there's any that you don't know, just Google them on the internet.
Okay, thanks.
Mm-hmm.
And these will be on the test?
You will use these on the test, yes.
Okay.
So you want to learn them. How many zeros are in a billion? But these last 2, these are just estimates. what your book uses for the population of the U.S. was 320 million, but it's changed a lot since the book. I usually go with 330 million. But you can Google it and see what they have. I think my son told me 339 million. Alexa, what's the population of the United States? It's 331 million. So somewhere in that range. The approximate population of the world is approximately 7.2 billion. So we will usually use these numbers, but I take anywhere, like for the population of the U.S., 300 million to 330 million, somewhere in there. 7.2, I don't know what it is now. Alexa, what's the population of the world? Well, it sure increased since the book. So Alexa says it's 7.7 billion. So I would take anything, because your book uses 7.2 to 7.7 billion. So anywhere in there is fine. And
The numbers kind of have decreased since COVID, so.
Yeah, that's true. I think it has. So I don't know. I don't know if Alexa is right or not. Oh, wait, it might not show that. Oh, it won't even come up.
Well, now I'm kind of excited for this class because I haven't taken one since 2018, and now that I see this, I'm actually excited for math.
Well, thank you. I'm glad. I do enjoy this class. It's a lot of things you will use. We learn about taxes. We learn about interest rates. Um, how to read a bill. Electric bills, gas bills, things like that.
My high school used to have all that, had a class like that, but then they got rid of it because of low budget costs.
Oh, yeah, I think this is a class that everyone should have to take. But it is a good course. I do like it. But the first two chapters are the hardest. And that's why this homework assignment will be, it's a little harder. And so I do want you to look at it and try and do some of them. Think how you would solve it. And then I will take questions on it on Wednesday. We'll probably do the whole thing on Wednesday, as long as everyone's looked at it and have good questions. But it is a little more thought process.
Yeah, I have to add to that. I'm like, math is definitely my weakest. And being a psychology major is not my favorite thing to do. So this does make it a little bit less stressful. Because I took a class like this in high school, but I was a little nerve wracking trying to get this requirement out of the way. So
Yeah, so definitely.
Um,
Go ahead.
um, you did say we're gonna be doing this homework together, right? I just want to make sure I heard that right. I heard that correctly.
Yeah, this one we will
Okay.
do together on Wednesday.
Okay, because like I've got like all these like assignments are like due Sunday. Like I like the stuff for this class and all my other classes are like showing up at the same place, and I'm like getting scared. I'm like getting slightly overwhelmed. So I just wanted to make sure.
And you know, the other thing that's going to be overwhelming is that you're taking two math classes. It's not
Right.
just one. And if you don't pass the regular class, you don't pass the co-rec. You cannot pass the co-rec without passing the regular course. Now, if you pass the regular course, I'm not going to let you fail the co-rec because it's only supposed to help you. So the co-rec, I mean, if you're not getting things done in it, it's not as big a deal as long as you're passing the regular course.
Also,
Oh.
I also want to go on record and say that my school didn't really teach us math. The last good math teacher we had was my freshman year, and then everything kind of just went downhill from there.
Oh no.
So I ended up taking pre-calc, and I got the highest grade in one of the classes, and the highest grade was 50%.
Oh my.
So yeah, so I mean, like that was like on one of the quizzes. The teacher just didn't care, so she just let it pass. So
My one teacher used to read newspapers and just said go on this page in the book and just do it that way.
Oh wow.
yeah, no, like math classes in high school are like they are not a fun time.
I did all right in math in high school. I took algebra 1, 2, and 3, but I forgot how to long divide, so my placement test wasn't the best.
Oh no. Well, that's okay. You still got into this course, so that's a good thing. And the co-rec will help with that too. But please, if it gets overwhelming, you need to text me or call me or email me, and come to class. Especially if you're one who's nervous and struggling, you need to come to class. But yes, the homework assignment, we will do this one, especially this one, and next week's in class, because it's not that it's hard, it's the wording. And that's why I want you to read through it first and see what you would think about it, and then we'll do it together.
For our exams, is it gonna be like plugging in answers, or is everything like a worded response? Because I had a class in Kent and I got a D in it, which I'm actually pretty good at math, but I got a D because if I put in a decimal and I put it the slightest bit wrong, it would mark the whole thing wrong, even if my answer was right.
Oh, wow. No. Okay, so I grade all the papers. It's not, even if I do a timed test, for instance, the co-rec has a timed quiz. And those answers, if you put a comma and I didn't put a comma, like if it's 1,000 and you put it without a comma and I put it with a comma, it's going to mark it wrong. So I do have to go through and check all of the answers, simply because of that. Or if you put a $sign and I didn't, things like that would mark it wrong. But your exams will be all written out, just like if we were sitting in the classroom. So you'll have the test on the screen, and you'll write all your answers out, and you'll send me them. So even though we're doing it online so that I can, as much as possible, make sure you're not cheating, it will be a written exam. So then there's partial credit, and if the decimal is in the wrong spot, I'll still be able to see your work and make sure it makes sense.
I have a question. Does this class kind of correlate with the I'm sorry, correlate with the regular math class?
Yes, actually, this is the regular course. The co-rec's the second part.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. A lot of times I kind of intertwine them.
But we can ask questions for both classes, correct?
Definitely.
Okay, cool.
And so then these are all due on Friday.
So when we do the exams, is it like we're coming to class or is it through Blackboard?
I used to do the meeting times and collaborate. That's why I'm still learning the screen and sharing. But the test will be in the same link. So you'll come on WebEx. That way then I can get 25 people on my one TV and the rest of the class on my computer so I could see everybody at once.
Okay.
And so then you'll come onto the WebEx just like you did today, and then you'll be able to open the link for the test. It's up to you if you want to print it or not. You can just put number 1 and write your answers, number 2, write your answers. And then you'll take a picture or scan it and upload it. Just like you're doing your homework, it'll be just like that.
Is there usually a lot of questions on these, or because I know we're writing out our work, so I just wanted to know.
I usually have, you ever take a couple, 13 questions on an exam? It will be an hour exam, but I will give you more time if you need it. I don't have anything afterwards. Also, I have the same class at 9, and so if you had a class at 11 on Friday, what you could do is come to the 9 a.m. class, start your test, and just keep going.
Alrighty.
I might have to send you the exam though then, because I can only have the exam open for those who are in the classes. Maybe I'll just put a password on it.
Did you receive my email about my accommodation letter by any chance?
Usually I respond when I do, but I should have gotten it. I will double check.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And
Will we use?
was there another question?
Yes, will we have test reviews like together?
Oh yeah. So the week of an exam, we will review Monday and Wednesday. We'll review for it.
Cool.
Any other questions so far? So the regular classes in the green homework, normally there'll be one short one, but because of the syllabus, there's 2, and then the harder one. Then the co-rec right after it. There's a co-rec homework, which is only 2 problems, and then there's a co-rec quiz, and this here, the quiz is a timed quiz. It's only 4 questions, just making sure you understand the basics. But when I make a quiz, it won't let you also put an attachment on it. I don't know why. So you put the attachment here. So you'll click on here and take your quiz and write all your work out on paper. And then attach your paper here. So when you click on this, it will let you attach right here. So all of your homework assignments will look like this too. When you click on it, you can attach here.
So when we write out our work, you want us to take a picture of it and then send it as like a .jpg or whatever?
Yep.
Okay.
Or you can scan it also. My son has one. I'll have to remember and ask him what it's called. For his math class, the teacher makes them scan it, and it scans to a PDF, and it works pretty well. Because some of them don't work very nice. But I'll find out what that is. But a picture is fine. Just take a picture with your camera, email it to yourself, and then you can upload it here.
Since we have homework for both classes, are they both due Sunday?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I just made, rather than trying to have all these different days to have things due, because I used to do, one thing was due on Monday, one on Wednesday, one on Friday. I'd like you to do things during the week and not wait till the end. But this way, if everything's due on Sunday, you don't have to try and remember which is due when. So everything's due on Sunday, but I recommend at least do the simpler ones during the week. And this homework assignment, Chapter 1 homework, please look over it before Wednesday. But I put your co-rec in the black and the regular course in green. And then under grades, it'll say regular course and co-rec course, the total grades, so that you know also. Any questions on that?
Yeah, that homework chapter 1 doesn't have, I don't see a due date on it. Is it
They
the
are
same
all
as the
due
other ones?
Sunday.
Okay.
Is the co-rec homework basically the same as like the regular homework?
No. The co-rec homework is more of the basics. With this one, I believe it was metric system. Yeah. which hopefully we'll get to today. But then
Okay.
this one's metric system. The quiz has, I think it has a metric system question. Most of it is multiplying with zeros, which we'll also cover today.
Okay.
The quiz probably will have more questions than this, but this week I only did 4.
I'm sorry. I saw that the question was 127 megabytes for 1 terabyte. I know off the top of my head that that's not even a terabyte. You want a decimal.
But yeah, 127 megabytes is how many terabytes? It could be a decimal. And then 2.5 centimeters is how many millimeters? But yes, they could be decimal. They don't have to be larger. That would definitely go smaller. And this one would go bigger.
Just out of curiosity, will we go over the homework majority of the time in class if we don't understand something? Or
Yes. If you're working on anything and you have a question on it, I will answer those questions in class.
Okay.
Any other questions? So the co-ec and the regular course, all of it is on here. The only thing that's not here that's in the co-rec is your syllabus. Since they're 2 separate syllabuses, I did put them separate. I don't know. So your syllabus is here. I don't know. It doesn't look like it's linked. Yeah, put it there. Again, attach. And your syllabus. It's there now. I don't know why it wasn't.
I had a question going back to the calculators thing. You said you'll be providing link. Will you be like providing links for those later, or?
Yeah. The calculator, if you want the TI-84, this is the one. This is the basic calculator that you. If you don't have a calculator, I'll put that link up today for the
Yeah, just
TI-84.
making sure.
It's a 90-day free trial for a TI-84. What happens is when you go on the link, it will ask you if you have a Mac or Windows, Microsoft, and you click which one, and then you get the download, and you get it for 90 days. It's really nice. Some of my videos, you'll see me using it. It expired already, and I didn't want to spend money on another one since I have the calculator. But it is really nice to work it online. And that will be fine when you're taking a test if you're using that and you bring it up on the screen.
Because I mean, I'm pretty sure that you can. I'm pretty sure the calculator that's like built into the computer already has. I'm pretty sure it also has a scientific form.
Exactly. The calculator on the computer would be
So
fine.
I just want to make sure. So, yeah. So that's why I just want to make sure because I know you were mentioning that, but I just want to make sure that was fine too.
Yeah, that's fine too. The
Okay, thank you.
there's a formula for house payment, and that's really the only thing that causes a lot of problems entering into the calculator. And a lot of students prefer, I keep putting this over here, but I'm not even sharing that screen. This calculator works nice when you're doing the house payment. Everything else is pretty simple to enter into a calculator similar to this one and the calculator online. But the biggest thing is the house payment, and it's nice to enter it in this. So I will put this up online. You get it, it's the TI-84, not the 83. You get it for 90 days free. Any questions on that?
Yeah, we're able to just order it, right? We don't have to use the online version.
Correct. It's just that it's free. This calculator, if you were going to buy it, is more than $100. Wait, I bought a bunch of them on eBay for around $50. This calculator you can get for about $10. Sometimes cheaper. I bought a group of them and I got them for $5 each. So you don't want to spend more than $5 to $10 on this if you do want to purchase a calculator and don't want to spend a lot of money. Any questions? I like this one because as you're typing it, it shows you what you're typing. So if you go 8 divided by 5 times 3, it shows you what you typed instead of doing it as you go. Any questions? All right, let's get some of these. I thought we'd be further through, but that's okay. So you know where everything is. If you have questions, let me know. The class, to start with, this first one talks about heartbeats, and it's just a small paragraph, so I didn't type it out. The human heart expands and contracts roughly 100,000 times a day. 100,000 heartbeats in a day. Pumping about 8,000 liters of blood. Over a lifetime of 70 years, the heart beats more than 2.5 billion times. So 2.5 billion beats in 70 years. With no pit stops for lube job or repairs. So if we read this was in the Canadian Encyclopedia, a blogger put it in. You want to see if it makes sense. So you have to think about how you can figure out whether that makes sense or not. Well, first thing we need to think about then, saying 100,000 heartbeats in a day. Well, approximately how many heartbeats do you think there are in a second? 1, half, 5? I think there's about 1 beat per second. Can't see this. Just so I can see if someone has a question. Although you can just say it because that's easier than me keep looking. Yeah, that would be for this one. For this one, if we're going with 1 beat per second to check it first, we have 1 beat, 1 second. And you can use proportions to find your answer. Now, if you can just do it without proportions, you don't have to proportions, but I still want to see your thought process, what you're multiplying or dividing. But we need to get seconds to days. We already have heartbeats. We just need to change seconds to days. Well, we know that there's 60 seconds in a minute, and we'd want seconds on top so that they would cancel. So now we have 1 heartbeat times 60, or 60 heartbeats in a minute. Well, we could change minutes to hours. We know there's 60 minutes in 1 hour. So when you're unsure of things, breaking them down into parts helps. Now, of course, a lot of times you're pretty comfortable with time. You might be able to do this without proportions, but knowing the process will help you in harder ones like the metric system. We know there's 60 minutes in an hour, which means minutes would cancel. Now we have hours, but we wanted days. Well, we know there's 24 hours in 1 day. So if we multiply across, we'll have heartbeats per day. Now, a lot of this is supposed to be done without a calculator. You're supposed to estimate. So what I probably would do is take 6 times 6, which is 36. Because when you multiply, you can add the zeros. 6 times 6 is 36 plus 2 zeros. Times the 24. And that would get me beats per day. If I multiply these together. But without a calculator, I don't know these. So I could round them. When you're rounding, you use this little squiggly equal sign. It means approximately. So this tells me you're estimating. 3,600, that could be 4,000. So I can round that 3,600 to 4,000. 4 times 24 is not too hard, but if I make it 25, I know that's a lot easier to multiply with, because I know 4 quarters is 100. So I can round both of these to make my numbers easier to multiply. 4 times a quarter is 100, and then 3 more zeros. 100,000 heartbeats per day. Now, of course, different rounding with different people, so somewhere around 100,000 would be a good answer. If it was way off, then I would know to double check your work. But it doesn't mean you're wrong. And if you're finding the exact value, okay, 3,600, all right, 0, 0, there we go, times 24, 86,400 is the exact value. So this would be an exact value. So anywhere between 86,000 and 100,000 beats per day would be a good answer. Now, if you found the exact value and you're explaining if this is correct or not, well, that's your opinion. I just want to know you know how to explain it. You might think that this is too far off, or someone else might think it's close enough, that it's a good estimate. Any questions on that? Okay, if we assume the 100,000 beats per day is correct, then we can convert days to years to check this one. You know, a day has 365 years. Or I said that wrong. 365 days is 1 year. You put the days on top because you want days to cancel. So this would tell us beats per year, and we wanted 70 years. Now again, we could round. I'll leave this 100,000. 365, I might round to 400. Now you could multiply across and get the exact value, or you can round them. If I rounded them, 1 times 4 times 7 is 28. And then count the zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So when you're multiplying, you can add the zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of them. $2.8 billion. Now they said 2.5 billion, but I rounded this up, which is a big rounding because this was 65. I rounded it to 400. If we find the exact value, 365 times 7 . So 365 times 7 gives me this number, and then there's 5, 6 zeros. $2.5 billion. So I would accept an answer somewhere between 2.5 and 2.8 billion, depending on how you round it. So with estimating things and rounding them, your answers could definitely be different than mine.
I have a question. Where did you get the 400 from? Awesome.
I rounded. So I took this number and rounded it to 400.
Okay.
I have a question. I'm like kind of confused.
Okay.
So I see you have 100,000 beats. I'm kind of confused in the process of what you're doing. Like this over that times this over that times this.
So what I wanted to do was, first we found out 100,000 heartbeats per day. We wanted to see if that made sense. So I picked that we have about a heartbeat per second. And we could have done a different value, but I used 1 beat per second. And then I wanted to convert seconds to days so I could find heartbeats per day. Per means divide, so that's why it would be in the denominator. So if it's 1 beat per second, I want to get to days. I can change seconds to minutes because I know that 1 minute is 60 seconds.
Oh, okay.
I put the 60 on top so the seconds would cancel and it left minutes. Then I went from minutes to hours, 60 minutes in an hour, and they canceled. And then I went to days. Then this one I rounded, and that's how I got the 100,000.
Okay.
For the 2.5 beats for 70 or in 70 years, I started with what we found here. Then we could have used this one or this one, but I used their estimate. And that's why I had 100,000 beats per day, and then changed days to years, and then we wanted 70 years. So if you want the exact value, you would have gotten this, either one of these, or this. And right now, we didn't do scientific notation. I think it's in the next chapter. This might end up being, if you use all these zeros, it's going to give you scientific notation in the calculator.
Could we have just given you the exact answer, or do you need it to be rounded?
Since we are online and I cannot tell who's using a calculator and who's not using it, I would accept either answer.
Okay.
But I do want to see work, so I do want to see something like this. Not that you have to round it, you can just multiply it out. But I want to see your thought process. And if it's not proportions, if it's just 100,000 times 365, and then I need to multiply by 70, that is fine. I just want to see what you're doing though.
So we can do it. We can do it a different way as long as we get a similar answer.
Exactly. If you're doing it differently with a different thought process, that is fine. Just show me your thoughts, like how you did it. Yeah, there's a lot of different ways of doing it. When we get into percents and sales tax, people do it a lot of different ways. And so I just want to see how you're doing it. It's fine. You can do it anyway, as long as you're getting approximately the same.
Would there be like methods in the book?
Yes. Actually, they do these two problems in the book, and I believe they do it the same way.
Okay.
Yeah, they did do it the same way.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So they found the exact value. Oh no, they do it both ways. The next one in the book that I thought was kind of an interesting story was, it's about a rapper who supposedly planted trees every summer. Says, on May 4th, 2010, Olivia Judson wrote in the New York Times about Baba Brinkman, who described himself on his webpage as a Canadian rap artist, playwright, and former tree planter who worked in the Rocky Mountains every summer for over 10 years, personally planting more than 1 million trees. He is also a scholar and a master in medieval and Renaissance English literature. So we want to know, how long would it take to personally plant 1 million trees? And is his claim reasonable? So he said every summer he planted trees for over 10 years. So the first thing we want to think about is the time it takes to plant a tree. Well, about how many trees do you think you can plant in an hour? Well, it depends on how you're thinking of it. If you're thinking of a seedling in a hole, it doesn't need to be large. If you're thinking of the small plant, if you're thinking of a big tree, that would take longer. So what do we want to estimate? How many trees in an hour? Anyone? Okay, someone said 30. Let's go at 30 feet. So 30 trees in an hour. My other class said 5, which I thought was a little low, but maybe they're really big trees. 30 trees in an hour. How many trees, or how many hours do they work in a day? What do we think? 8 hours, 10 hours, 16?
How about 9? Let's say 9.
Okay, 9 hours. So we're going to say they work 9 hours a day and they plant 30 trees per hour. Well, how many trees is that in a day? So your thought process, you want to break it into smaller parts and then just keep adding to it. And so if he plants for 9 hours a day, 30 trees per hour, and this outline, I did email it, but each week I'll put a kind of an outline, or at least the problem we'll be going over, so you'll have the wording for it. under that weekly checklist. And this is there also. So trees per day, if we multiply 9 times 3 is 27, and one more zero. So 270 trees per day. So a lot of trees. So if he does 270 trees per day, how many days does he work in the summer? Phineas and Ferb in their song says there's 104 days of summer vacation. Do they work every day though? Or do they take Saturday and Sunday off?
I'll give him a Sunday.
A Sunday? Okay, so we're working 6 days a week, and there's approximately 3 months, 4, 8, 12 weeks. So we'll say 72 days out of 104. So what I did was we said 6 days a week, and then approximately 3 months. And there's 4 weeks in a month. So that's how I got the 12. And then 6 times 12 is 72. Okay. So we're saying 72. If we multiply
It's 19,440.
19,000,
440.
approximately 20,000. So we could have rounded this to 3 and this to 70 and then multiplied, and we would have got 21,000. So anything around 19,000 to 21,000 would be a good answer. But see, you need to show this work, because if you look at my other class, they only had 3,000. They said 5 and 10 hours a day. So that gave them 50 trees per day, where we had 270. Both of these are correct. So that's why I need you to make sure you show your work when you're doing problems, because we have 270 here. They only had 50. But it still made sense the way they were working things out. And then they only went with 60 days, where we went with 72. So it makes a big difference, and so make sure you show all your work. And we want to know how long it takes then for 1,000,000 trees. If we can do 20,000 in a summer, because I rounded it, we take 1,000,000, 1,000 million over 20,000. Now, a lot of times, some numbers are going to be too big to put in your calculator, so you do have to reduce them first. And when you're dividing, you cancel zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So we have 100 divided by 2, or 50 summers. So it's going to take approximately 50 summers. And I think they said he was, did they have an age? No, maybe they didn't have an age.
So I was following with you, but I just have a question about where'd you get the 6 multiplied by 12 72-day equation?
Okay. So we were saying they worked 6 days a week. And
Oh,
so this was 6 days a week. And then summer's usually 3 months, around 4 weeks each, so 12 weeks.
okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. And so we got 50 summers with the other estimate. So you got 300 to 400 summers. So your answers can be completely different. So you have to show work. But that would mean that you would have had to work 50 summers rather than he said 10 summers. So his number's way off, or he's planting a lot more trees than 30 in an hour. Or maybe he worked with a group and he still said it was personal. He said personally did that. Any questions on that? The next one's about the carbon footprint. And you may have already done this in other classes. A lot of like the geography classes make you find your own carbon footprint. And what it does is it tells you how much carbon dioxide is released into the atmosphere from an activity. Even exercising will release so much carbon dioxide. What you eat releases carbon dioxide. How it's made releases carbon dioxide. And so that's what your carbon footprint is. Whatever you're talking about, what item it is, it's how much carbon dioxide that item or activity releases. Drinking a glass of orange juice has a carbon footprint of approximately 210 grams. So if you drink a glass of orange juice, you're releasing about 210 grams of carbon dioxide. Now, that doesn't mean right then. It means the whole process of making it. Filtering it, harvesting it, burning it, squeezing the orange juice. The whole process of making that juice is in that 210 grams. Any questions on that? If you look up the carbon, go ahead.
It doesn't give us glasses per year or glasses per, like we don't have a glasses per amount, so how do we solve for how many?
Exactly. Well, that's up to you, but one way of solving it is to take the population, because it wants to say how many grams of carbon dioxide are released in a year. And this should be air. From orange juice in one day. Well, we have to think about it. We know how many people, there's 330 million Americans approximately. What percent of them drink orange juice each day? So, on an estimate, what percentage of Americans do you think drink orange juice? 10%? Half? 50%?
50%?
50%? Okay. So we think about half, or 50%. Now, if you're using the fraction, you can multiply by half. If you were using 50%, you would multiply by the decimal, 0.5. So 50% is 0.5. Or you can multiply by a half. So if we're going to assume that half of Americans drink orange juice every day, we would take half of the total. Half of 335 is 165 million. So approximately 165 million people drink juice every day. Each of those glasses is 210 grams of carbon dioxide in the total process of making it. So if we take 165 million and times it by 210, that will tell us how many grams of carbon dioxide are released every year just from drinking a glass of juice. I take 165 times 21. Then I'm just going to count my zeros. So I'm just using the numbers in front, the 21 and the 165. Get 3465. And there's 6, 7 zeros. Thousand million billion. 34 billion 650 million grams of CO2.
Would that be 34.65 billion?
Wait, repeat that?
Would that come like in a decimal? Would it be 34.65
Oh,
billion?
yeah.
Okay.
Yes, you could. Actually be billion. You could put 34.65 billion. Or approximately 35 billion. You could also round it. The 6 would round this up to a 35. So you could round it to 35 billion.
So you're not looking for the exact amount, you just want to see the thought process.
Exactly. So you can do estimates. Now, when we're talking about the tax and things like that, you'll need to find exact values. But for these are all estimates. Because then, think about it, in different groups, some people might say half. Some people may feel it's a lot less, 10%. I had a class where it was only 10% because they felt no one drank juice. What I did when I had it in class, I'd have people raise their hand and we'd go by that fractional amount. So sometimes it was only 1 out of 30, which is a lot smaller. So it can change. Any questions on that? Now for the co-rec course, part of it is being able to convert numbers into metric systems. There's also some other parts, but we'll do this part first since it's here. And then I'll show you the other part. But this is one chart, and I have on Blackboard, I have this one. So you can print this if you want to use it for a test, it's fine with me. But it has the small values and the large values. The small's on top. The large is on top. Kilo, 10 to the third, notice has 3 zeros. 10 to the sixth has 6 zeros. And so mega is million. Giga is billion. Tera is trillion. So when you're converting back and forth, it lets you know what to multiply by. But this one is just working with the large values. Kilo means multiplying by 1,000 because a kilo is 1,000. Mega means multiplying by 1,000,000. Notice mega, that's 1,000,000. What is the lottery called? What is the lottery called? Megabucks. This should be why. Sorry, I was typing too fast. Why is the lottery called Megabucks? I don't know. Something's not written right. But a lottery called a Megabucks, why is it called that? Or what is it worth? Oh.
A million?
A million?
Because mega is 1,000,000. So megabucks is $1,000,000. This is the part that should have been gone. What is the lottery called a megabucks worth? So if you play the megabucks lottery, it's worth $1,000,000. But you're multiplying times your unit. In New Hampshire, Seabrook, the nuclear plant is rated at 1,270 megawatts. How many watts is that? Now, if you want, just like we used the proportions before, you can use them. Because if we take
Is that comma also work as a decimal? Like, is that what you moved?
This comma?
Yeah.
Yes.
This megawatt, so it would be
Well,
6.
it wouldn't be mega then. If you put a decimal here, that would make it gigawatt. So it is a comma.
But can I move that over 6 spaces to get my actual?
Yes,
Okay.
you could. So one way would be just to move it 6 to make it to watts. And then if you were unsure of that, you can multiply, because I know that 1 megawatt, and I'm putting it in the bottom because I want megawatts to drop. I know 1 megawatt is 1,000,000 watts. So you can use conversions just like we did before. This would be if you're in watts, this would be the watts. 1,000 watts is 1 kilowatt. Or if it's in miles, 1,000 miles is 1 kilomile. Well, no, meter, sorry. You want to keep with the metric system. 1,000,000 meters is a megameter. And they use capital letters for the larger values. So megawatt, 1 megawatt is 1,000,000 watts. And I put the megawatts in the bottom because they canceled, and then just multiply. 127, and count your zeros. 3, 6, 7. So 1,270,000,000 watts.
I'm confused. So you have 4 zeros after the 1 and 3, so 7 zeros. Wouldn't the million only be
Yeah, there's
6 zeros total?
Will it be 6 zeros after this whole number? Mm-hmm.
Oh, so you
I was
replace the
counting.
127 with zeros.
Yeah, I was counting that 0.
Okay.
Any questions on that? So if we want to go 7 terabytes to gigabytes. Now, when you're doing these ones, notice this one went right to a main. It went to watts. But if you're going to a different one, like if we were going from, what were we going? Megabytes to terabytes, you want to go to the unit first and then go to the other one. It's just easier. If you can do it all at once, it's fine. But what I would do is I would go byte. I would go to bytes first. And then from bytes, I would go to gigabytes. So I always go to the main unit first, and then I go to the other one. Because it's easier. Terabytes to bytes, I go here, terabytes is 12 zeros. Then leave a message. So 1 terabyte is 12 zeros. And the terabytes cancel. And then you can go from bytes to gigabytes. I know that 1 gigabyte is 3690. Any questions on setting it up? But then this way the bytes cancel, and it's going to leave me with gigabytes. Now when you're dividing, you cancel zeros. I'm going to cancel 3, 6, 9 zeros. 3690. It's going to leave me with 1,000 times 7. 7,000 gigabytes. Any questions on that? Now another way to do it, notice they have these exponents here. So that we don't have all these zeros, you can use these. Kind of like a scientific notation. When there's 3 zeros, that's 10 cubed. 6 zeros, 10 to the 6. 9 zeros, 10 to the 9. So we could have used these values instead of all these zeros. If we did that, 7 terabytes, 1 terabyte is 10 to the 12th byte. And my terabyte cancel, and I'm with bytes. 7 times 10 to the 12th. But I want to convert that because I want gigabytes. And I know 1 gigabyte is 10 to the 9. And my bytes cancel. So I have 7 times 10 to the 12th over 10 to the 9. Now when we have the exponents like this, when they're the same base, they're both a 10. If you're dividing, you subtract your exponent. So this is the same as 7 times 10 to the 12 minus 9.
Okay, what is the small b?
Bytes.
Just bytes, okay.
So I went from gigabytes to bytes. So I had terabytes, I switched to bytes, and then I went to gigabytes. When you have the same base and you're dividing, you subtract minus bottom on your exponent. And then you could leave it in this form, or you can put 7 times 10 times 10 times 10, or 7,000 gigabytes. So it's two different ways of looking at the same problem, and you can solve it either way.
Okay, sorry I'm asking a lot of questions.
That's okay.
So okay, off the top of my head, I already know there's 1,000 gigs in a terabyte, but what are bytes?
Byte is a small unit, kind of like an inch, or
Like, what does it fit within? Does it fit within gigs?
well, giga could go with watts, it could go with meters, any metric unit. A byte is a basic unit of measurement for the computer. Not memory. A meter is a basic unit in the metric system for measuring length.
So one byte would just be a kilobyte.
Exactly.
Okay, I got it. All right.
Or no.
It's 1,000 kilobytes.
1,000 bytes would be a kilobyte.
Oh.
Yeah, so the byte is the smallest unit of measurement for the computer. Then a kilobyte would be 1,000 bytes. A terabyte, which a lot of computers, that's the amount of memory in them now. Some even have 2 terabytes.
So the second version of solving is essentially converting how many of something in a year to seconds and then getting it to minutes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So like if we had feet, we might go to inches before we went to, I don't know what we would go to, like, that's not a good one. Maybe gallons, you go to liters before you went to cups. Oh, liters is metric. I don't know. A metric system works different, and it's easier to go to the basic units and then go back up. But I guess if you were given something in pounds and you wanted to find the price per ounce, you might change to ounces first or cups first, depending on what it is. So metric wise, it's best to, like if you're in megawatts, go to watts first and then go to the next one. So if they're going more than just the basic unit, go to the basic unit first. It's just easier. Does that help? Like if we had kilometers and we wanted to go to gigameters, I'd go to meters first. So if we had 20 kilometers and we wanted to know how many gigameters that is. Go from kilometers to meters and then go to gigameters. So if we're going to kilometers to meters, we want kilometers in the bottom so they will cancel. And we want to know how many kilometers is a meter. According to our calculator, it's 1,000. Or you can use 10 to the third. Then I would go to gigameters. And I know 1 gigameter has 9 zeros. Now this is a case that you're asking because in the one homework assignment it gets a lot smaller. Notice all the zeros are in the bottom where the one before the larger zeros were in the top. This one's going to get small because we're canceling 3 zeros. So then we have 20 over 6 zeros. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And you can just use your calculator. 20 divided by a million. Now, go ahead.
I'm sorry. For our homework, do you want us to print it and write it out and then take a picture and send it? Or is it acceptable to do our work on the computer? Like type in what our work is?
That is fine. You can type it in or you can print it and write it on it. Or if I had this typed out as a question, you don't have to print it. You could put number 1 and show all your work. So like for this one here, if this was the problem and you don't print it, that's fine. Just, I want all the work. So then just put your whatever number it is and then show all your work. Because there were a couple people who didn't have printers at home, and since they're not going on campus, they couldn't print it. And so you can just number it on paper also. So you can type it if you're good at typing and quick, but if you'd rather just work it out on paper, that's fine too. either way. As long as I get it, I'm fine.
So I have a question. So we have to like do all the work and then like send you the work too along with like the answer. Like you want a picture of the work?
I want a picture of the work. I'm more concerned about the work than the answer.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. Now, if you divided this in your calculator, you're going to get 2e to the negative 5. Now, of course, scientific notation they don't cover until another chapter. But what that negative 5 means, it's 10 to the negative 5. And what it's doing is it's taking away 10 decimal places. Whereas the other one we had 10 to the third. Notice 1, 2, 3. It gave us 3 decimal places because it was positive. This one's going to take away 5 because it's negative. So if our decimal is here, we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we're going to gigameters. So it's a very small amount of gigameters. It's 20 kilometers. Now, there'll be parts on the test where I will ask for both scientific notation and standard notation. Right now, technically, they're not covering scientific. You would think they would have put it in before they start these, but the book's kind of strange like that. Is there any questions on that part? Now, if you are using the book, it's weird how they number things. Like, the chapters aren't actual. You know how sections go 1.1, 1.2, 1.3? Well, section 1.8 is homework. And so all of these are in there. But at the end of each assignment or chapter, it has review exercises. These are the co-rec parts. So if you do buy the book, that part at the end of each chapter where it says review exercises, that's what the co-rec part is. And that's usually what I go over to practice for the co-rec. And what they're teaching you in the first part is about adding zeros, which is kind of what we're doing here. If we take 1 million times 5 billion. $1 million is how many zeros? The first set is 1,000. There we go. The first set's 1,000. The second set's 1,000,000. So we would be having 6 zeros. Then 5 billion. This would be 1,000, million, billion. The next one would be trillion. So 1,000, million, billion. If we're going to multiply those, you can multiply your numbers in front and then just count your zeros. 1 times 5 is 5. And then we have 6 zeros here in the first one. And then the second one, 369 more. And you just multiply your numbers that are in front and then count your zeros. You did it with exponents. Be 1 times 10, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 zeros. And we're multiplying that times 5 times 10 to the 369 zeros. When you multiply your numbers in front. 1 times 5 is 5. And then when you're multiplying with the same base, you add the exponent. 6 plus 9. So it's 5 times 10 to the 15. And if you count our zeros, there's 15 of them. So these are the same thing. This is scientific notation, and this is the standard form. Either way, when we get into scientific notation, I will ask for both.
Could we also put 5e to the 15th?
No,
use E.
no, shouldn't use E.
Okay.
I don't know why calculators use an E, but no, we shouldn't use E. I'm trying to look. $50,000 divided by 200. Now, a couple ways you can do it. Well, of course, you can just plug it in a calculator. But without a calculator, you can cancel your zeros. 2 here and 2 there. So then we have 500 divided by 2. Now, if you're not sure, you can break this down. You can keep this 0 off to the side and then take 50 divided by 2, which is 25. So as long as you're doing it with the front, you can use the front part and then just keep continuing with any zeros that you have. 50 divided by 2 is 25 and plus the 0. So you can break things down when you don't have a calculator. Or if you're reading something you don't think it makes sense, you're not going to pull out your phone and start plugging in values. Just estimate with what you can do in your head to find your value. And we'll learn the same thing when, like, you're walking in a store and something's on sale for 25% off, but you don't want to take out a calculator to make sure you have enough money to pay for it. You'll find different ways of doing it in your head that are quick and about the exact answer. And that way, it helps you calculate.
So, curious question for that example. Say, because I kind of want to know this. If I was in the store and it was like a $500 item that's 26% off, how would I find that without pulling out a calculator?
If you have a $500 item, and usually they're not 26% off, it's 25%. And the 25 is because it's easier to work with. If you have 25%, that's the same as 1/4. And so, it's not as easy to divide by a fourth, but that's one way of thinking of it. So 25% off is 1/4. So you could try 500 divided by 4. Another way, if it's 25% off, how much are you paying for it? What percent? 25.
75.
So you're paying 75% of it. So 500 times
3/4.
Times 75%. Well, 75 times 5 is still a little hard, but I could round this to an 8. 500 times 8.
But okay, you can do 500, half is 250, half of that is 125, so you lose 125.
Right.
Okay.
Or you're paying 80, well, a little less than 80%. So you're paying 8 times 5 is 400. It's less than $400. So if it was 25% off, that's 1/4. Now, if this was an 8, it'd be easy to find out how much is off. But 25% off is the same as paying 75%. 75% is approximately 80. If I take 80 of 500, I get 400. So you're paying approximately $400. So there's different ways of finding it. Rather than looking at the amount off, you could look at how much you have to pay for it and then find the number that multiplies. So it's going to be less than 400, but then when you add tax, it's going to be about $400. And I think that's in one of the latest, like chapter 5 or 6, somewhere in there.
But how did you get 400 again?
So wouldn't it come out? Sorry, wouldn't it come out to 475?
8 times 5 is 400. I rounded.
Oh,
I
okay.
got the 400. This is a percent, so it's actually a decimal. But so 8 times 5, if we just multiplied it without the decimal, we would have had this. But because it's a percent, it's 2 decimal places.
Okay.
Will the conversion chart be on Blackboard?
The metric system?
Yes.
Yes, this is on Blackboard. When you first log in, it'll say metric system. Try another one. The number of feet in 10 miles. Ten miles is how many feet? Does anyone know how many feet there is in 1 mile?
Could we do meters?
If we go to meters and then we got to go back to feet, I don't know.
Because it'd be 1,600 meters per mile.
Okay.
So 10 miles would be 1,600 times 10, and then you divide it by 3.
Okay. 1,600 meters. We could go meters to miles, and then we know that 1 meter. Wait.
Is 3 feet in a meter.
Oh yeah, it is. So then we would multiply those together. That's 48. 3 times 16 is 48. There's 1, 2, 3. So that's one way of doing it. If you knew that 1,600 meters is a mile. Another way.
I have a question. So whenever you do the multiplying, you multiply all the top numbers. So it's the 3, the 1,600, and the 10. You multiply all of those?
Right, you multiply all the way across. It just so happened that our numbers in the bottom are always ones. That's not always the case, though. I don't know why they're... just the ones I picked ended up that way. 10 miles is 5,280 feet. So it's actually 52,800 feet. Because 1 meter, the 3 feet, is a little off. But there's 5,280 feet in a mile. Therefore, I would accept anything between here with estimating. Any questions on that?
Yeah, I see how you set yours up. Are we able to like, so what I would have done if I had this question, I would have just put 1 mile, or yeah, 1 mile equals 1,600 meters, and then I would have put below that 1,600 times your value, and then I would divide it by 3 feet. Would that be acceptable?
But you wouldn't want to divide by the 3 feet. You need to multiply it.
Oh, yeah. I just mean, like, do you want us to put the numbers over the numbers to show it, or could we just put what equals what?
If you would not use proportions, you don't have to. Just show that you're going, you knew that 1 mile was 1,600 meters, and then you knew you wanted 10 miles, so that was, yeah. No, that's fine. That's fine. That's showing me your thought process, and that's fine. But then you need to be careful. You needed to multiply by the 3 and not divide. Any questions on that?
Wait, how did you end up with 52,800 feet again?
One of the large number memories on here, it should be miles to feet. 1 mile is 5,280 feet.
Oh, okay.
So it's one of the measurements we want to learn.
Oh, okay. Thanks.
Any questions? So when you're multiplying, you add your zeros. When you're dividing, you cancel them. I think that's the main thing. But if you have any questions when you're going over things, let me know. So try the short homework assignments in the COREC. The one that says homework chapter 1, make sure you read through those 3 problems, but we will go over those on Wednesday. But please try them ahead of time.
And then you said like overall though, if like we attend class and do like the work, we should be good in this class.
Definitely.
Okay.
Usually the students who don't pass this class are the ones who don't come and don't do their work. I've never had somebody who did all their homework and did all their tests not pass. So as long as they're doing it.
I have like anxiety when it comes to test taking, because I have like the disability center, so I'm like, I have like really bad anxiety when it comes to test taking. But I'm like usually with my homework and everything, I'm pretty good.
Well, then that's good. There's only 2 tests.
Okay.
You'll review that week, and if you just start the test, take your time, and we'll take as much time as you need.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Are they cumulative?
The final is cumulative, but the other 2 are not. They're only on whatever material we cover up to it.
Okay.
I think it's like the first 4 chapters are on the first one, but I forget what's on the second. Any questions? Okay.